All right, quick video on scales. Our first pattern we're looking at today is G major. G major gives us a very fundamental finger pattern to all of our scales. Now, before we get started in that, let's cover a basic idea. We only have so many patterns that we could put our fingers in to make different scales, starting with fingers all together. That would give us all half steps, or the shark theme from Jaws. Ba-dum. If we went to the next finger, da-dum, da-dum. So it'd be the progressively higher version of the shark theme. If we put space between all of our fingers, we'd wind up with whole steps, and this would sound like do, re, mi. Do, re, mi. And then we could have combinations of those. So we could have all together, all spaces. 1 and 2 could be next to each other with space between 2 and 3 and 4. Or we could move that to space, the half step being between 2 and 3, or between 3 and 4. Most of your scales, you're going to notice that if you play across all 4 strings, you're going to have 2 distinct patterns. G major, for example, on the G and the D string, we have this finger pattern. On the A and the E string, we have this finger pattern. Reason for the change in the finger pattern is to maintain the same space between notes that we have from the beginning all the way across the instrument. So for example, on the G string, the second and the third finger are together. Why? Because those are the notes B and C. And in G major, we need a half step there. Then we get it again on F sharp G. So wherever those notes show up, we always have to make them a half step. All right, so G major looks and sounds something like this. Just to show you the fingers from a different angle. A low 2 on the E string, low 2 on the A string, high 2 on the D string, high 2 on the G string. I'm only mentioning 2 because 1 and 3 don't change at all the way across. Well, 4 for that matter as well. Now if we go on to D major, a logical progression here, we go from 1 sharp to 2, and in first position we only have 1 complete octave. So for now, when we practice the scale, we'll only do 1 octave. It gets the same fingers that G major starts with. You might call these your twinkle twinkle finger patterns because they're exactly the same as if you played Twinkle Twinkle, the first book in the Suzuki series. Again from another angle, high 2, high 2. When we get to our next scale, A major, we have 3 sharps. The finger pattern that we need here on the G and the D string will be this one, a half step between our 3 and our 4. So from G major, where we started this, 1, 2, and 4 haven't changed at all. We've just needed to move 3 to accommodate our new sharp. So we wind up with this finger pattern on G and D, and then we wind up with twinkle twinkle fingers on A and E. Now typically when I'm playing these scales going up, since I'm going to brighter pitches, I'm going to play open strings. So I'll play 1, 2, 3, open D. And also, since my hand's already going that direction, it makes sense to move my hand sequentially that way. When I'm going down the scale, I'm going to darker pitches, so I'm also going to be moving my hand more closed. Therefore, I'm going to use my 4 on the way down. So for now, I'll demonstrate just showing where the fingers are, but as a principle, open strings going up and 4s going down. Now, of course, when you get to some keys, you don't have open strings anymore, so that's a mute point. Now, or a moot point. Now, A major has 3 sharps. And the very next pattern that I like to show my students is A flat major, which one might think is a little much, jumping from 3 sharps to 4 flats. But the reason being, here's A major, here's A flat major, A major, A flat major. You keep the same form and everything, you just move your fingers down a half step. So if I play A major, A flat major. Of course, we play up and down. So that puts us through G major, D major, A major, and now A flat major. So it gives us a wide variety of what we can cover on our fingerboard. When we go to our next pattern, I like to go to C major, because then we start using this series of a low 2 in a lot of places. So C major, I start from a 3 on the G string. And if I were to play all the notes on the G string, it would be the same as Twinkle Twinkle. But for our scale, we don't need to, we just start on the 3. Then when we get to the D string, we have the low 2, A string, a low 2, E string, we have something new. Here's where we have all 4 fingers with space. In fact, our 4 is going to have double duty on this one. So here we go. When we go to our next scale, F, it's kind of the same thing we had with G and D. We play the same finger pattern over a string, and we only play 1 octave because that's all we have room for in first position. And then I go on to B flat, which is 2 flats. It covers the same thing. Again, we just shift over a string to start the pattern. All right, now, to summarize the whole thing, the pattern that I get from A major is a pattern that I'm going to be using all over the place on my violin. G major, A major, and now B major are patterns that will take you across all 4 strings through all 4 octaves. So pay close attention to these patterns. In B flat major and in B major alike, we wind up with this finger pattern. Now, technically speaking, all spaces. So technically speaking, since we start on a 2 in B flat, we don't really have to worry about our 1, but it would look like this if we were on the G string, okay? But for our purposes, we just need to start from 2. So we would have this, and then we repeat it again on the D string, but now we have all spaces. When we get to the A string and the E string, you'll notice this finger pattern looks familiar to A major, and that's where the variety really stops, right? We've mastered our finger patterns up to here, and this will take us through our entire instrument. Now we can make life more complicated. We can make life so simple it doesn't make any sense. But there's a beautiful balance between having a certain number of logical finger patterns that we can repeat across whatever scenario, and being able to just comfortably play, right? We have the variety of sound we need. We have the comfort and the ease of playing. And so this is where I really like to build with my students. G major first. You should be able to play it in your sleep. A major next, because we developed this finger pattern and this. When we get to B major, we're gonna have to get used to this pattern and then switch to this one. We've kind of covered these all in different forms up till this point, but if you wanted to simplify it, G, A, and B. Here's B major. The difference between B flat major, B major. Everything's just up a half step. Now, what if I decided I wanted to be fancy and just slide up the G string? What if I went up to D here? What if I really wanted to get fancy? Let's see how in tune I am today. does that cover playing 2 octaves across all 4 strings, it sets you up for playing your 3 and your 4 octave scales as well. So hopefully that's helpful. I will do a slightly shorter version in my short answer series, and I'll just cover 1 scale at a time in those videos. Thank you.